Okay, great. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Corey Huss. I'm here in McHenry, Illinois. And 14 and a half years ago, hard to believe it's been that long, is when Relive found me. And you know what? I was 28 years old. I was working for the power company here in my area. I had a really good job, but I was under a lot of stress. And you know what? I wasn't sleeping at night. My energy level then was real low during the day.
Can you hear?
Let me go ahead and put
Hello,
mute
Bill?
all the lines. Yes, we're underway, Sherman.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, let me go ahead and we'll mute all the lines. Corey, go right ahead.
Okay, and you can still hear me then, Bill?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Hopefully everybody else can hear too, those ladies that were talking.
We're good.
But you know what? And so there I was in my late 20s, not sleeping well. My energy was low, and I'd always been a pretty high energy person. I'd also been riding horses for over 20 years at that point. And you know what, Bill? I developed a herniated disc and a bulging disc in my lower back. It was starting to get really painful to get out of bed in the morning and stand up straight, painful to bend over and brush my teeth in the morning. If I were to bend down, squat down, and try to pick out my horse's feet, I'd get sharp shooting pains a lot of times when I'd go to stand back up, and it would feel like somebody was stabbing my lower back with a knife. It is how much that it would hurt. And then after I'd move around for a bit, it would subside. But it was getting worse, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And so I'm so thankful that I met a lady who ended up sharing Relive with me and got started on the products. And within a couple months, my energy came back and my sleep came back. And for me, it was very gradual. Sometimes things happen for people really fast, but it was really over that first couple of months I started noticing some changes. Also started seeing some results with some mild blood sugar issues that I was having. Those were leveling out. Another big thing is at that time, if I would catch a cold, it was going into bronchitis. So like twice a year, I was starting to get bronchitis. And you know what? Now that I've been on these products for 14 and a half years, I still catch a cold every now and then, but I haven't had bronchitis in over 14 years. So I know my immune system is so much stronger than what it was before. Gradually over time, my back got better and better and better. And now all these years later, I'm pretty much 99% pain-free. I still have a herniated disc. I still have a bulging disc. In fact, a couple years ago, I was told I have almost no discs at all left in my lower back. I'm very active. I love to work out. I still do a lot of stuff with the horses. And in fact, I'm cleaning the barn a couple times a week, and I'm cleaning 12 stalls and dragging water buckets and throwing hay bales and doing all that kind of stuff. Plus, I still do like to ride my horse, and it's just been amazing. I'm just so thankful for how much I'm able to do. And 10 years ago, I used Relive as prenatals when I was pregnant with our daughter. I had a great pregnancy, and I recovered very quick from having a C-section. My little girl's been on the products all these years. And, she's 9.5 now, and she generally fights things off really fast. And I absolutely love the preventative aspects for both of us being on these products. And you know what? Back when I first heard about Relive, I told my friend, I said, you know what? I want to know how I can get the products at the best price. And if I can help a few people and it pays for my products, that'd be great. And after going out to a Tuesday night evening presentation, I was so inspired by the stories. I love meeting all the people. I called my mom the next day. I said, you need to get on these products, Mom. And she did get some great results with her colitis. My cousin got on the products right after me, and she got results with more energy and PNS issues she was dealing with. She joined me as a master affiliate, like the next month at highest profit level. And you know what? Very quickly, I was paying for my products. And over time, my income had grown from a couple $100 a month to my highest month I've ever had, which was just under $5,000, which was really cool. And you know what? I've really been able to work Relive part-time all these years. And, last year when we were doing our taxes, I realized that over the years, Relive has paid me over $150,000 just in my 1099s. And what that's done, Bill, it's allowed me to be a stay-at-home mom with our daughter, and allowed me to do a lot of things at our church. I'm currently running our children's ministry there, and it's just been a blessing all the way around. I love helping other people with Relive. It's huge. I love our health, but I also love what the opportunity has done for us financially as well, and just looking forward to help more people and what the future has in store for us.
That's great. I can't imagine still riding horses and doing all the things you do around the barn with as I recall, it was like degenerative disc and bulging disc and herniated disc, and all that stuff can be very painful. And what a joy that you get to still do the thing that you love.
Oh, it certainly is. And I tell people all the time, I don't know where I'd be without Relive, and oh my goodness, I don't want to find out.
Right, absolutely. Well, Corey, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you sharing for us tonight. Okay, well, next we're going to head over to Arizona. It's my pleasure tonight to have with us Diane Dowdy. And Diane, we'd love you to come on and share a little bit of what's happened for your family.
It would be my pleasure. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Go right ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Diane Dowdy, and right now I live here in Arizona. I'm a mother of 8 children, and my journey started back in about 1999 when we moved from Long Island, New York, to Madison, Connecticut. And once we lived there, I started meeting a lot of people that were dealing with Lyme disease. And that spring, in fact, our property, we were inundated with deer and deer ticks as a result. So I remember taking off these tiny little ticks off the kids, and I was getting really worried. We'd had the property sprayed and thought we were okay. During that time, I never saw a tick on me. I never had a rash. So I never had any feeling like maybe I was infected, but my health was going downhill. And by that September, I was all of a sudden would get a bladder infection. The next month, I was getting migraines. The following month, I was lactose intolerant. I'm thinking, wow, my health is really going downhill. By that winter, I had a very strange cough. Went into the emergency room clinic, and they put me on doxycycline, which happens to be the choice antibiotic to take when you have Lyme disease. They didn't give it to me thinking I had Lyme. They just gave it to me to address the cough. But what that did was it just kind of unleashed all those spirochetes from the deer tick that were in my system. So I just went from bad to worse. So now I had tremors in my head. I had a vibration throughout my spine. I had arrhythmia. I had neuropathy in parts of my body. I couldn't sleep, the irregular heart rate. I felt awful. I had digestive issues, and we're thinking, what the heck is going on? What's wrong with me? So, I stopped the antibiotics thinking it was from that. Went from doctor to doctor to doctor. I finally got a blood test, and I was lucky enough that it showed the markers indicative to Lyme disease. So at that point, it's like, okay, now I have a diagnosis, get on these antibiotics. Hopefully it'll eradicate it. I'll be better. Would go on these antibiotics for about 3 months, and still, then I get off, the symptoms would come back, so go back on. And that was my life for 2 years until I finally got allergic to the antibiotics. And that was a blessing in disguise, because that made me look into alternatives. Because there's no cure for Lyme. So that was like a real eye-opener, with chronic Lyme, there's no cure for that. So, you're trying to get help from alternative doctors, chiropractors, you're doing all these kind of supplements, change the diet, everything to boost the immune system. And that was my life, and trying to stay positive and pray my way through the days. And I'll fast forward to about 2009. We had moved to Virginia 3 years prior to that. I brought my mother from Long Island over to Virginia because she had stage 4 breast cancer. Well, when she passed away in 2009, that's when I crashed. All my symptoms came back. I had that white flag, raised up to heaven saying, I give up. I can't do this. I was so sick, and the chest pressure was so bad, I just didn't think I was going to make it. And that's when a friend heard about what Relive was doing for somebody else, and she brought it to me. She was trying to tell me about it, and I was just so skeptical because I had just been working with all these really great doctors. But when she brought it to my house, I was desperate. I tried it, never thinking it would ever do anything. And within a short amount of time, what it did was it lifted that chest pressure. I had constant chest pressure, and that was lifting. And there wasn't anything else I was taking, so it had to be from the Relive. So as I continued on, I started to sleep through the night, and my energy started to return, and just the symptoms that I was dealing with from the Lyme disease, with time and consistency on being on these products, it just started to melt away. And nothing in 10 years prior to that had ever done that for me. And I got my life back, and it was just so humbling, and it was just such an answer to a prayer. A lot of people noticed, and that's how people ended up getting on it, because of the difference that it made with my health. And I was so excited to watch people get their health back. And then, yes, family, friends, that was so important. But, you know, your children are so near and dear to your heart. And when I got to watch my little girl at 14 finally play soccer, because I wouldn't let her play soccer before that because she was so sickly and had asthma and allergies, and just watching her finally play because she'd been on Relive 6 months prior, and it just built her back up, and she didn't need her nebulizer anymore. Her immune system was built up. I mean, that was just such a gift. And that's what Relive has been. It's just been a gift, and that gift I will just always want to share with people, to let them know the hope in these products.
It's wonderful. Lyme is a very scary disease. A lot of repercussions from Lyme. You were on the antibiotics for quite a while. Did you deal with Candida?
Oh, yes. Oh, of course. The doctors back in 2000, when I was on the antibiotics, they'd say, oh, well, just, take some yogurt. So, of course, I would want the sugary, good-tasting yogurt, and I didn't go on probiotics. So, yeah, my digestive system, between the Lyme disease and taking all those antibiotics, yes, I was dealing with the overgrowth of yeast, and what I found out, years later, and that just destroyed my gut, the digestive system, and I was just amazed how taking these products built up my immune system, and that I was able to, get better with the Candida as well.
And the arrhythmia and heart palpitations and all
the
those
heart
things?
Palpitations used to be so bad that I at times it would take my breath away, and I thought I was going to black out. And that was just, again, one of the symptoms just kind of just melted away, along with that chest pressure. And, what these products, I know it's not a cure, but the nutrients, they're just so balanced. And when my body was able to absorb that, because Lyme disease prevents you from absorbing your nutrients properly. I had food allergies, food sensitivities, and once I took this, I was like a sponge to it. And then, your body knows what to do with that good nutrition. And, just staying on it and staying very consistent just built up my immune system. And I don't feel today, I don't have those symptoms. I don't feel like I have Lyme disease. I could maybe get a blood test and it might still say I'm positive, but so be it. I have my life back. I'm not dealing with those symptoms that were really scary.
Right. And, of course, there's been lots of results in your family. Your mother-in-law, as I recall, had some issues.
She got results with her arthritis. My sister-in-law got results with her rheumatoid arthritis. Oh, my gosh, just a list a mile long of family and friends that just got amazing results. And some were very fast, and some it took longer. Everybody's immune system is different. But it's just wonderful to witness, and that's why, you just get so happy, because it's like there's something out here that's changing our lives for the better, and what a blessing.
Absolutely. This thing will grab your heart as you begin to see other people's lives impacted, and their whole family is impacted as people start seeing these changes happen for their family.
Absolutely.
Well, Diane, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, now we're going over to Illinois. Have with us tonight Susie Chesna, and Susie, we'd love you to share.
Thank you, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Wonderful. I'm so privileged that you asked me to be on this. I really love to share, and I really want to give people hope, because what these products are is hope in a can. That's all I can tell you. And we initially got on the products after a lot of prayer. A friend of mine introduced me. I had a daughter with serious asthma. In fact, I had 5 kids who were on nebulizers, inhalers, and steroids. But my oldest daughter, the doctors were talking about putting a trach in her because she was 16.
Wow.
And her asthma attacks were so long and so severe that her last attack lasted 28 hours, and I truly thought she was going to die before my eyes. Just horrifying. Anyway, we got her on these products, and working with the University of Chicago, she did very well on the treadmill test. They wanted to know what the ingredients were. The doctors were floored when they looked at them, and she told them she no longer had migraine headaches or chronic fatigue, and the doctor cut all of her asthma medicine in half. It was like May 5th, and on June 1st, they said, don't take any asthma medicine. You are allergic to grass, trees, mold, and dust. Let's see how well these products do for you when you're, just using them. Anyway, at the end of August in 2007, he said we can safely assume that, you no longer have asthma. I want to tell you what a blessing that is to a mother's ears to hear something like that, after watching your child suffer like she did. And we got all of our kids off the nebulizers, inhalers, and steroids. In fact, nobody's been on those since 2007, so they all are doing terrifically well. I myself have had irritable bowel for 30-plus years when we got on the products. I had chronic colitis since I was 15, which turned out to be celiac disease, which I found out later. But, within 2 weeks, I was going to the bathroom every day, normally and naturally, and if that would have been the only result that we had on these products, we would have been on them forever. But, we were consistent, and we went on to have more great results. My husband avoided 2 knee replacements from severe arthritis in his knees. I myself also had diabetes. I was on insulin 14 years ago. My numbers ranged in the 300s. Today, I am on no insulin or any meds for diabetes whatsoever, which is such a blessing. I thank God every day for that glucose effect, because that made such a huge impact in my life and how I feel on a daily basis. I've also had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, probably for 25 years before I got on the products, and as long as I'm faithful and consistent on these products, I have no issues whatsoever. I also had a daughter with anorexia who today is doing fabulous. I also had kids with ADD and ADHD. Oh my gosh, my one daughter was like bouncing off the wall. She was doing dive rolls off the back of my couch and backflips on the picnic bench that was at our dining room table because there were so many of us. And, I put her in gymnastics just so she'd learn how to fall and not break her neck. And, the amazing thing was, within a year of being on these products, she went to state, and she had God-given talent, no question, but her issue was she never pointed her toes, she never saluted to the judges, and she didn't arch her back like they do at the meets, and she was always done way before the music. But within a year, she went to state, and she placed, 22 out of 75, which is just fabulous because she learned to control her body. She learned to salute to the judges, to finish with the music on time, to point her toes. My son, who was, oh my gosh, he was like another maniac. I homeschooled and I'd have to sit down right next to him at the dining room table. And every time he jumped up, I'd have to put my hand on his leg and say, sit down. And that was like 55 times a day. And, today he is a sergeant in the Marine Corps, which is huge for him. I also took in a couple of special needs kids who were ADD and ADHD. The one boy, I believe, was a borderline autistic case. He was on Prozac when I got him. And, he had severe rages. And, we had one more bad rage after he went on the products, and he mellowed out. His brother was severely obnoxious, a very bright young boy, but very, very obnoxious. And, within 6 months, I had the boys serving Mass at church, and the teachers were calling me in saying, what are you doing with these kids? They are like night and day. And I was like, yeah, it's just nutrition I have them on. It's really great, So, it's really been such a blessing to all of us. I'm so grateful to God that somebody took the time and introduced us. And, I wasn't looking for a business. I was a homeschooling mom. I was busy. I had these 9 kids, 7 of my own, and the 2 special needs kids. And, a business was born because people saw the results in the family. People came to me and said, "Wow, you guys look great. I don't see you carrying that nebulizer around anymore. What is going on? What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, we're making and shaking and taking this stuff, and yeah, we feel great." And they're like, "Well, can you share it? We'd like some." And, that's how it was born. In the first year, I brought 4 people into the business with me, and at that master affiliate level, and their businesses began to grow, and my business continued to grow. And, my best month has been over $3,200. Last month, I was over $2,100. And, this business, it takes time to grow, but once it begins to grow, it's like wildfire. You can't stop it, and it's word of mouth. As people see things, they see the changes in your behavior. They see the changes in your coloring. They see these things, and they want some of it too. And, I'll tell you, I am still a very busy mom and grandma now, and, I can only share 8 to 10 hours a week, and sometimes it's by computer, sometimes it's calls like this, sometimes it's a freeway, sometimes once in a blue moon it's going and sitting down on an appointment, because honestly I really don't have time for that either. But it works, and it works because it's not anything that I'm doing. If the products didn't work, the business wouldn't work. It's as simple as that. And because we have such awesome products with this optimal nutrition that arrests and takes care. It's not like medicine. It doesn't just arrest your symptoms and mask them. It takes care of them. None of us are on any meds whatsoever, And I have a 2-year-old granddaughter whose mom was on this, who my oldest daughter was the one that ended up with the trachea. She was on this while she was pregnant. And, and of course she did nurse. Her daughter never had a sick visit to the doctor the first 2 years of life. They were only wellness checkups. After the age of 2, my daughter did decide to do the immunizations, and she did get sick. But that was just for a short time, and I have her on the Relive product when I babysit her, and she's a healthy, normal child that, you see so many sick babies today. I'll tell you, all of my kids had that RSV virus, which is an infant virus. Some of them had it twice. 5 out of 7 of my children had pneumonia before they were a year. Some of them had it twice. This little one was so unbelievably healthy. It was just such a grace, And I just love sharing these products because, for me, it's truly a moral obligation because I think we all deserve to be healthy. We all deserve to have the wealth of health, And I'm just so grateful that somebody took the time to introduce me and my family to these products and business because it's helped us tremendously.
Wow. What a wide variety of results through your family with all those kids, the 7 kids and the 2 special needs kids added as well. My goodness. But I think just how scary that was when you saw your daughter with a 28-hour asthma attack.
Oh, my gosh. I was on the edge of my seat constantly praying because there was my hands were tied. There was nothing more we could do. The nebulizer wasn't working. This wasn't working. The next thing wasn't working. I called everybody under the sun and said, please ask God to help her to start breathing. It was very frightening. You're right.
How's the daughter who had the anorexia? How's she doing?
Oh, she's doing fabulous today. Fabulous.
She was down to 79 pounds, as I recall.
Yes, that is correct. Yes. Yeah, she's going to school for opera now. She's thriving. She actually was asked to audition for an opera company. She's a freshman at a university downtown, which is just unheard of. That's for graduate students. So, she's soaring. But I'll tell you, she's my most faithful kid. She'll take the Relive products before school, after school, and she'll take a couple of baggies with her because especially on those long days where she's in school till 10 o'clock at night. So she knows,
Susie, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing from your heart here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Well, I have one more guest with us tonight, and what a pleasure for me to get to introduce you to Dan Stussy. And Dan and BJ are bronze ambassadors with Relive from Nebraska. They've had some good results with the product, but they've reached out and made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And it's our pleasure to have Dan share tonight. So, Dan, we'd love you to do that.
Thanks, Bill. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, Dan, go right ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Dan Stussy. my wife and I, we've been doing Relive for 21 years this month, actually. Back in the mid-'90s, I was introduced to Relive. I was in the military, in the Air Force. I was halfway through my military career in my late 20s, and I was the epitome of the most skeptical person you've ever met. I tried other nutrition products. I tried other home businesses and never was successful, never saw results. And I thought all of them were the same way. And I did not have a very good opinion of any of them, including Relive. And when a friend of my mother's back in Wisconsin introduced her to Relive, I just happened to be in town. And I said, Mom, I'm going to come with you. I know what they're going to try to do, and they're going to promise all kinds of things. And I was not very pleasant. But I went with, and my mother saw someone give a presentation like most of people in Relive have seen and given, and it was very eye-opening. I was still skeptical. I asked them questions, and they answered them very frankly and gave me some good information, and I was intrigued enough to give the product a try. And so I was expecting to get my money back because I expected it not to work. And they said, the only thing that's going to make this work is if you take it every day. They said, there's no magic. You have to just take it, put it in your body every day. And that's what I did. And within about 3 weeks, I wasn't telling anyone I was on it. I had people asking me what I was doing different. They saw the changes in me. And some of the things they saw that first month where my energy was up, my caffeine intake was down. I used to drink 6 to 12 Mountain Dews every single day just to wake up in the morning. And I usually was walking around in a zombie-like fog, and suddenly that fog was lifted. I had no morning drag. I stopped being late to work. Very constantly I was late to work. I just had a pep in my step I never had before. I stopped having the afternoon caffeine crash, so my everyday nap that I lived on, suddenly it was not needed. And I just felt better than I ever had in my life. And I thought I was pretty healthy, but that was enough to keep me on the products, because the guys at work were asking me, what are you doing? And they saw the changes in me without even knowing I was doing something different. And I decided to, at that time, become a distributor, because at the time there was nobody in Nebraska doing Relive anywhere near here. And so I became a distributor just to be able to provide my own product. And so for me, I was just providing product for myself. And the longer I was on the product, the better my results got. And so within a few months, I noticed some other things that have gotten better. My allergies, for one, I had very severe allergies. Hay fever and cats and dogs and mold and dust and everything else. I was always miserable in the hay fever season. And since the military decided to send me to Nebraska, right in the middle of farmer country, I was always miserable. And so for me, suddenly to go from months at a time where I was popping pills and carrying around boxes of Kleenexes and my eyes were watering and burning all the time, suddenly to where that was gone, it was just such a relief. And it's been that way now ever since I've been on the products. My allergies now might have a day or two flare up in the beginning of the spring, but compared to months at a time, I would say about 99% better with my allergies. For me, though, I've had three other great results. I've also had acid reflux my whole life. I used to take Prevacid for that, and I also had very irritable bowel. I take Tums and Rolaids. So all kinds of digestive issues, and I don't take Tums or Rolaids anymore. I don't take Prevacid anymore. They've helped me get that under control, too. And now I can eat whatever I want, which is great because I love spicy food. My other great result is with my eyes. I've had cornea transplants because of a blood disease I have that is hereditary. Unfortunately, the doctor did not know I had this disease and gave me the wrong medication once when I had a flare-up, and caused me to get a scar in my cornea. And that scarred cornea could only be fixed with a transplant, which I had back in the late 90s, early 90s. I did not have a lot of success with that transplant because within 3 years, my blood disease attacked it so much it completely rejected it, and I had worse eyesight than I did when I first had the scar. Well, the doctors were not going to give me another transplant. It was just going to be a waste of donor tissue and money and time. And so I didn't have a lot of hope for that eye. And Relive came along, and suddenly, not expecting to get any results with my eyes, my blood disease started becoming less severe, and the symptoms were farther and farther apart, to the point where it had been a year since I had my last symptom. And I went back to the eye doctor, and I said, this is what's going on. Am I eligible to get a transplant again? And they looked and they said yes. So they gave me a transplant a few years later, and this time it was night and day. I had the transplant. It healed faster than the first time by almost a quarter of the time, 9-month healing instead of 12 months healing. I had that transplant now. It's been almost 18 years, I guess. And I've not had any flare-ups. I've not had any return to the blood disease symptoms. I'm essentially cured without being cured, because if you looked at my blood test, I would still have the disease. And if I ever got off Relive, the symptoms would return. But Relive helps control it in my body to where it's like it's not there. So as long as I continue to take Relive, I'll never stop it. Of course, now I'll have these great, be able to keep my eyesight. And the other big result I don't share actually very often, but since we're having this great call, I might as well bring it up. I've had fertility issues my whole life, and I was not able to have children without a surgery, actually. And when I married my wife in the late 90s, I told her that whenever she's ready to have kids, to let me know, I'll go get this surgery. And within a little after a year we were married, she was pregnant, and a little bit shocked for both of us, and a great pleasant shock. And a year and a half after my daughter was born, we had our son. So 2 great kids. The only thing different in my life was Relive. I know Relive helped me to provide, overcome my fertility issues. Matter of fact, when I went to a doctor years later and they said, "Oh, you have this condition?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "And you have kids?" And he was completely shocked. So I know it's pretty rare, and Relive has definitely been the answer for helping me get that under control. So those are my great health issues, and it's helped my whole family. My son, who had severe asthma when he was born, was able to come off all his meds and nebulizers and everything else thanks to Relive. My wife was able to help her some back issues and things like that, and even get over her gestational diabetes when she was pregnant with my daughter. Got that under control and all the vomiting and everything within 2 weeks, and had a great pregnancy the rest of the pregnancy. We just love what Relive has done for our whole family and helping other people. That it's just been a mission of ours. When I was in the military, I did not have a lot of free time. The business side of it was not something I could really do in a big way, because there's lots of limitations for the military when being in business and having other jobs. The military, of course, has to come first, and you can't be, you have to be very flexible, let's put it that way. Well, Relive is flexible, and that's what's great about it. It's just helping people get their lives on track with their health and their businesses. And we were able to still, working around my military career, I earn about $200 a month my first few months in the business. And that's just helping a few people. And that was great. I love what that was providing for my family, or for me. I was single at that when I first started Relive. But when I went to a conference and saw the big picture of Relive, like the one coming up this summer, I saw what Relive was all about in a big way. Since I was a distributor in Nebraska with nobody around me for support, I did not really have a vision of how big Relive was. And I found out later that Relive was not only in all the United States, but in other countries as well. And it was growing by leaps and bounds. And I just decided I wanted to be a part of that. And then I brought Relive back in a big way from that conference, and I decided to jump in at the top profit level that they have. And that decision helped me earn more money for my efforts, and I started making, instead of $200 a month, about $1,000 a month by the end of that year, and still doing it part-time. And then the next year, working a little harder, I was making $2,000 a month. And then about 7 years into the business, I was probably making over the $4,000 a month mark, where I was able to be invited to the ambassador program and all the great perks that has. And we've just been blessed beyond belief with Relive, because I actually earned more with Relive part-time than I did with my full-time military career after 20 years. Wow. And that is just saying something. The fact that we were able to bring my wife home from corporate America, and she had 3 jobs when I met her, and then pay off all her debts with the extra Relive income, replace all of her jobs, and be a stay-at-home mom like she wanted to be. And my kids have had their mom home every day of their lives, and being able to provide for the sport programs and all the other things that the kids nowadays want to be a part of. And just blessings upon blessings, giving more to church and missions and charities. And my mom turned 60 years old. We were able to send her on a trip of a lifetime to Hawaii, all expenses paid, because she had never traveled before. And If it wasn't for Relive, I never could have given that to my mom. And there's so many other things I could list off, Bill, but Relive has just been a great part of our lives, and it'll continue to be a great part of our lives until the day we pass away. And then my kids will get to inherit the business that we've given to them. So I love that part of Relive.
There you go. Well, Dan, we so appreciate you coming on and sharing tonight. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up there for tonight. Another wonderful call.